Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. We're looking at Revelations chapter 1 and beginning in verse 10. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day and heard behind me a loud voice as of a trumpet saying, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. And what you see, write in a book and send it to the 7 churches which are in Asia, to Ephesus, to Smyrna, to Pergamos, to Thyatira, to Sardis, to Philadelphia, and to Laodicea. Then I turned to see the voice that spoke with me, and having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands, and in the midst of the 7 lampstands, one like the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the feet, and girded about the chest with a golden band. Then he goes on to describe what Jesus was wearing and what he looked like. And so we have already looked at where John was. John was on the Isle of Patmos. Where he was in the Spirit. What time it was on the Lord's day. And then we're looking at now what he heard. First, he heard a voice like the sound of a trumpet. Now, I probably need to remind us that, and I've already talked about it a little bit, but this trumpet sound, it's so important in the Bible and understanding God's use of the trumpet. In Numbers chapter 10, the people of Israel were told to make 2 silver trumpets. And when these trumpets would sound, they were for several reasons. First, there was the trumpet sound, and it was actually when the 2 trumpets would sound, and they would sound a blast in a certain way, the nation of Israel would hear these trumpets, all the people. And you have to remember, we believe at this point there is anywhere between 2+ million people that are in the wilderness and at Sinai, where these people are getting these commandments from God and being told how to run things and do things. And so just as they begin this wilderness journey on their way to the promised land, they're told to make these 2 silver trumpets. The first blast of the silver trumpet, he said, would be a call for the assembly to come together. It would be a come together for worship. They would have some announcements from Moses and Aaron and the people, the leaders of the nation, and they would worship God there at that tabernacle that they built. So it was a call to worship. But then the second, as you look in Numbers chapter 10, when there was a long blast, of course, that was a call to worship. But then when there was one trumpet that would sound, it was for the elders to come together to meet with Moses to get instructions for the people. But then there was another alarm that would be sounded by the trumpets, and it wasn't a trumpet of alarm. It was, hey, the enemy is near, we got to go to war. And even they said at the first blast of the trumpet, the people on the east side would begin to lead out to the war, and then the trumpets would actually call the other part of the people to lead out and go to war. And so these trumpets were first a call to worship, and then they were a call, alarm to go to war. Now, we believe that we see this in the book of Revelation. Matter of fact, there are 7 trumpets later that are the trumpets of judgments of God's wrath to come upon the earth. A call to war. God is calling first his people to worship, home, to us, and that's why 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and 1 Corinthians chapter 15, when Paul is describing the rapture of the church, it's the sound of a trumpet, and it calls us to gather to heaven to worship the Lord there. And then we see the trumpet also as a call to war. Jesus is coming to declare war on the earth and pour out the judgments, the wrath of God. So he heard a trumpet sound. And then, of course, he said he heard a voice, and the voice said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning, the first, and the last. And what you see right in the book. And so he heard Jesus speak. Now, interesting, earlier, God said, I'm the Alpha and Omega, but here Jesus says, I am the Alpha and Omega, because he turns to see who is speaking, and he sees one in the midst of the 7 lampstands. Now, that's a message for tomorrow. And we'll be talking about the ministry of Jesus Christ to these 7 churches in Asia as he is in the midst of these 7 lampstands. And we'll describe that a little bit tomorrow. But hey, God bless you. I'm so thankful to be a part of studying this book with you. We need to be listening today. The trumpet's going to sound, and we're going to gather for worship in heaven with the Lord Jesus Christ. And the trumpet's going to sound, and war is going to be declared on earth. And I know it's coming soon. God's wrath is about filled up. Well, you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I trust God's blessings on you.